Hello everybody and welcome back to another recap for this time for a long run file. It will be for singular month. Now unfortunately I didn't have time to actually prepare any artists, however I have decided to do this for singular month because I actually got through quite a few games and I want to talk about them a bit more, and I do have two pieces of other media to talk about here as well. So yeah, it's been an active month, and while I'm still behind on schoolwork because of a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of reasons that there's a lot of stuff going on, well, yeah, there's been an active month and I've been doing quite a bit with gaming, especially on the single player side of content. So, let's first jump in to the other pieces of media. First of all, I want to talk about Knights of Guinevere, which was released very late into this month, but which was a very fantastic piece of indie animation, and I know that a lot of people actually did see it quite a bit because it received a lot of deserved attention. And while it does have, of course, with the internet there comes internet debates and internet drama, that's always silly, as with every animation that comes out of that studio, and yeah, that's not the point here. What I'm gonna be talking about here is that I absolutely adored the whole animation because of a lot of reasons, honestly, but a main one being how the setting had a very underlying theme of being very dark and depressing, and of course that is something that I quite enjoy. So it really did play into my preferences quite a bit. Now of course it did have a lot of little lovely details put into it, which I will not be highlighting here, but rather I would recommend that you just go watch it. It's not very long and it is fantastic. Now it does have a lot of horror details to it, which if you do not enjoy even mild amounts of horror might not be up to your tastes, but I personally really loved it. So yeah, Knights of Guinevere, really good, like everything that Goosebox does, it's really good. And of course, it had, if I'm not mistaken, Dana Terras was also in compilation with that, or in collaboration with that, and or rather it was her piece of media, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. I mostly often just consume media kind of blindly because of my friend's recommendation. So yes, very good. Enjoyed it very, very much. Don't have much else to say about it, however, now, so might eventually do a commentary for it, might not, we'll see. Second piece of not gaming media I want to talk about is the Djinn, which is a lovely, I think it's a webtoon, and it's a very, let's just say, interesting exploration about wishes, and I can't really talk too much about it. It's just a really, really cool little piece of art, and my god, it's very beautiful with its interplay with colors and with both of the theming of the general piece, in the way that it just kind of plays with how, like, it's very much a monkey's paw situation in there, how it, how careless wishes can become your downfall, and yeah, I very, very much enjoyed that. So yeah, I really enjoyed reading through it. It's not a lot to read, it's like 7.5 chapters, but it is very entertaining and interesting and very grotesque at some points, or rather, not excessively grotesque, but it does have a lot of blood in it, which, not like an awful amount, but it is very violent, and it has some rather dark themes to it, which might not be for everyone. But I liked it quite a bit. Then I will be discussing some of the games that or rather all of the games that I did complete during the month, with the first exception being the Blackwell Legacy, which I finished on the very last day of previous month, which, that was a silly coincidence. After editing the previous video I still continued, of course, playing, and yeah, one thing led to another. It wasn't very long, but I did want to finish it, so that's where we ended up. So, the Blackwell Legacy. It's a part of a longer series, and I am very excited to see how they will continue, but I personally very much enjoyed it. It had a very interesting point-and-click adventure style to it, with a lot of like, I do of course always adore when there is voice acting in a point-and-click game. Not every point-and-click game has every voice line voice acted, but this one had, and it did add a lot of personality to it, and I quite liked that. Now, the story itself is mostly just an interesting mystery and a very good setup for the future episodes to come, which, well, I am actually going through right now the next one, and it will be interesting to see how it turns out. I'm really excited to see how they continue this, because the first one is just a setup piece, and it is a very good setup piece, but it doesn't really, as a singular piece of media, it's not exactly the most engaging, but I still did enjoy it quite a bit. So yeah, the Blackwell Legacy, kinda okay, mostly because it will be continued. It didn't take too long though, so that's nice. It's a very good prologue. The second game I want to talk about, which I completed during this, or finished, I shouldn't say complete because I'm not any longer going for full achievements, because that takes too long. So the second game is Dungeons of Hinterberg. Hinterberg? I don't know, it's different language, so, you know, Hinterberg. I really quite enjoyed this after the third dungeon. Now, yeah, there's the titular dungeon, so that kind of gives you the idea of how the structure of the game goes. But it is very well paced around you completing about, like, all of them in one sitting. However, that is not necessary, and because I played on normal, I suppose that kind of made it rather easy. I very much enjoyed this game quite a bit because of the social aspect of it, because it had a lot of inter-character building relationship things, which made it so that it kind of felt similar to how Persona does your relationship things, where you advance a relationship status and then you go into a dungeon or you do something else, but more so in a very relationship then dungeon, like very much just alternating. And yeah, that was all quite fine and dandy. It was a really cool structure, but what I want to give like exceptionally high praise for is the dungeon design. All of the biomes are something a bit peculiar. They are all somewhat special in their own manner, and while not exceptionally remarkable, every one of them, most of them were special enough to be interesting. And what I really enjoyed was the puzzle designs. Most of the intrigue of the game came from the puzzles in the dungeons, because they were built around the magical spells that you gain in each biome and how those can interplay, and especially the difficulty and complexity curve of the dungeons, because they introduce always a kind of an interesting mechanic usually at the beginning of the dungeon, and then they slowly but steadily implement it in more and more complex ways and make the puzzles really fun and exciting and new, and just every single dungeon felt interesting and rewarding without starting to get annoying. And especially in the dungeons themselves, they had always a very nice combination of both fighting and puzzle solving, and it was just really fantastic. It's just a really nice action puzzle solving time. It feels, I kinda would like to say that it felt like the good old times of Legend of Zelda. However, it's really not very comparable at all, but you know, it kinda gave that kinda mood, and that is just a straight up compliment. Really enjoyed this game. And of course, it does have a lot of intrigue to it that is something that I cannot spoil here. A lot of this game is something that I would struggle to spoil, that's why you're not seeing any footage here. And I would, if you want an action game with some really interesting puzzles, which are, in my opinion, rather fair and very intuitively built, yeah, it's really fun and really unique. Now, in my Steam review, I did also write that it took me a while to get used to the art style. I wasn't a huge fan of how the humanoids especially looked, but it grew on me after the third dungeon or so it's just a matter of getting used to the art style, because in every other aspect, the art style just absolutely clicked with me immediately, and it is very, very expressive in the best possible manner, so it works very good and supports very well the social side of the game, and yeah, that's the most important thing, I would say. So yeah, Dungeons of Hinterberg, I would highly recommend if you want a, not exactly Zelda, but something that is kind of reminiscent of dungeon crawling, action and puzzle solving, and that has a rather unique spin on it and has some meta-commentary structure about it, about the, you know, capitalistic hellscape and how that can be monetized for good and mostly for evil. So, you know, that's always, I really do like social commentary, you know, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. The next game up to the chopping block is something of a bit of a difficult game to recommend, because it has a very, very strict delineation for people who would be interested in it. And the game is, of course, as you can see, Everhood, which is a bullet hell action boss rush game of sorts. And it is a very unique blend, which I cannot unfortunately go into too much because it is a spoiler, even though it is a very early on game spoiler. Well, kind of early on game. So, yeah, mostly it is a rhythm game with a unique twist to it. And the really most interesting part of Everhood is how it changes the musical tracks, or rather how the musical tracks change the playing field, where your character is standing, and how it is twisted and distorted and moved around and mirrored, and like a lot of really, really cool tricks are done with the actual concept of the musical playing field itself, and it plays so very well with the music itself, and the music supports the gameplay so fantastically well. It is kind of hard, but I played on hard difficulty and I am bad at video games, so yeah, it's really enjoyable, the music is fantastic, and it is a very, very trippy game, like actually psychedelic session, and that is something that you need to be aware of. This is something that is really not recommended if you have epilepsy, or rather, I think it's impossible to play if you have epilepsy, but regardless, I really love the game. Now, there are things in it that are not optimal, there are stuff that I missed, there are things that I feel are a bit unfair, but it still has a lot of unique charm to it that is unseen in anything else, and it is one of the most unique experiences with music games that I've had ever. So yes, Everhood, very, very highly recommended. If it is up your alley. If you don't like rhythm games, I can't imagine how you could enjoy this, but maybe you can. Maybe I'm wrong. You know you yourself best. So yeah, I did really, really like this game quite a bit. I actually really would recommend buying the soundtrack as well, because that's really good. I would recommend going in online and listening to it. You can find it on YouTube, so yeah. Then I will talk about a bit of a strange peculiarity, and that is Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which I absolutely loved for a lot of reasons, which are going to be hard to explain without going into a lot of my personal life, which I will not be talking about here. This is not the place or time for that. But yes, Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is a really beautiful and interesting game that deals a lot with on the mystical side of occult stuff, and a lot of exploration of different forms of occultism and magicality, and it's just a very, very beautifully unique experience of storytelling where you kind of build your own tarot deck. It has a lot of choices to it, which make me really want to play it again, because it was good, and there are a lot of choices, and there's a lot of ways you can influence the game, and it's very, very difficult to say without spoiling why exactly this hits hard, but it has a certain scene, and it would be a really long way spoiler, so I cannot go into that. But I really, this deals with some of the topics that I most have enjoyed talking about in a lot of different theming. Whenever I talk about theming, this hits like some of the most my beloved philosophical topics, which I really do love discussing, but it also has a lot of heart and soul put into it, and it has a lot of really, really unique and beautiful storytelling, which I really loved. So, yeah, Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, really loved playing through this. The final piece of media I want to highlight is a game that I got for free as a review copy, which I also streamed quite a bit of, and that is of course Metahorror Therapy Session, which I did manage to finish quite early on this month. And, well, you should probably check those streams out if you want more specific examples. But I can say without a doubt it is one of the more interesting and unique explorations of meta concepts in gaming, and freedom of choice, predeterminism, and there's a lot of really, really cool concepts explored here, done and delivered in a very personal, very intimate, and a very touching but very delicate manner. And while the game obviously has its own interpretations of things and it has its own ideas that it wants to give you, it doesn't force ideas upon you in which how you should interpret and how you should come to your conclusions about all of these topics that are being brought up. So I really, 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 really liked it. It's one of the best visual novels I've played in quite a while, and on top of it, it was shockingly fast. It has one of these things that I've been talking about quite a bit recently, which is what I would like to call information dilution, or rather information it has very dense amounts of information being delivered in short manner of time, in which you as the player can dictate the pace that the game advances, but the information comes at you in such a rapid pace, in such a condensed state, that it kind of distorts your sense of time in the way that it feels like it lasts longer than it actually does, which in my eyes, for someone who wants to go through a lot more games, who is a connoisseur of experiences, a curator of gaming, as they would call, a curator of libraries, it is just fantastic when the game feels like it respects your time. And that is certainly something that happened in here. A lot of the unique features are mostly done to storytelling, but a lot of the actual visual novel mechanical aspects are just wonderfully done. as with artwork, camera movement, music, sound effects, like all of the mechanical aspects are really freaking good. I have very little bad to say, but I am of course, now I want to remind, I got this game for free, so I'm very biased. But I really, really liked it, so I kind of do want to give this to a lot of my friends, which I will, if my budget allows it. You know how it is being for a student, so yeah. But yeah, it's a good game, really freaking good, and has done something that the exploration into meta concepts in gaming, while certain aspects of the exploration are something that have been done in other games, because meta-horror is not unique as a concept itself. I feel they handled it excellently here and wielded it perfectly, while interviewing interwoven the whole story itself in a personalized touch that felt very intimate and felt really real, as if the person, if the if the director or the maker of the game, if the creator has not personally experienced, then they have done some wonderful exploration and consulting job for this, or then they are just speaking from experience. Either way, it's just really fantastically well told and heartfelt story, so really, really enjoyed it. Would highly recommend if you enjoy just generally meta concepts and their exploration in gaming. So, with everything out of the way, that is all for this month, or it's most. There's a lot more that I did check out. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to stream this month because of a lot of things, mostly school. So, hopefully I can get that fixed next month. That is the plan, at least. But there's a lot on my mind right now. But for now, I thank you all for your patience, continued support, and your attention. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, and stay awesome. I will bid you all adieu. Ganmu out.